This is the Tecno Pova 5G disassembly. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you subscribe and follow me on Twitter so you'll be notified when I upload a new video. And if you need any tools, there are links in the description. First, the SIM tray needs to be removed. Next, we need to apply heat to the back plate using a hairdryer or a heat gun to loosen up the adhesive underneath, and then we're going to use a plastic pry tool to pry the back plate off. Here's a better look at the plastic backplate. The plastic camera bezel is held onto the backplate with adhesive, so the bezel itself can be heated up and pried off. On the back there's some foam padding and some graphite film on the top portion to help transfer heat. There are 16 Phillips screws that need to be removed. Next, we need to place a plastic pry tool in between the back housing and the frame of the screen and run it along the edges to pop off the catches. Once the back housing is free from the frame, we're going to gently lift it up. And be careful since the flex cable for the fingerprint reader is still attached to the main board. So we need to start off by disconnecting the battery cable first, and then disconnecting the flex cable for the fingerprint reader. The back housing is also made of plastic. And the camera lens covers are made of glass, and those can be replaced by applying heat and prying them off. The quad LED flash is located right here. And there's an antenna flex cable on the top right. On the other side of the back housing, there are numerous antenna flex cables all around, and the vibrator motor is located on the bottom. There's an adhesive pull tab on the bottom to help pry the battery off. However, it tore while I was pulling it, so I'm going to have to apply some isopropyl alcohol around the edges of the battery and let it sit for about 30 seconds so it eats away at the adhesive underneath, making it easier to pry off. Here's a better look at the 6000 mAh battery. Once the battery is removed, we can see the flex cable for the screen, which is routed through an opening in the mid-frame, as well as the flex cable which connects the main board to the subboard. So if you needed to replace your screen, you'd have to remove the back plate, and then remove the screws and the back housing, disconnect the battery cable and pry the battery off, and then disconnect the screen cable, heat up the front of the phone where the screen is to loosen up the adhesive underneath, pry your old screen off, apply new adhesive, reapply the new screen making sure you run the flex cable back through the opening in the mid-frame, and reassemble your phone. Now we can proceed to disconnect the rest of the flex cables. There are two coaxial cables on the right side of the board that need to be disconnected by popping them off. The graphite tape over the shields needs to be removed so we can disconnect and remove the front-facing camera. There's copper tape covering the connector as well that needs to be peeled off. Here's a better look at the 16 megapixel front-facing camera. At this point, there are two Phillips screws which are holding down the main board that need to be removed. Now the main board can be lifted up and removed. On the main board, there's a 50 megapixel main camera, a 2 megapixel macro lens, and a 2 megapixel depth lens. None of the cameras have OIS or optical image stabilization. The camera connectors can be disconnected by just popping them off. There's a secondary microphone on top, a liquid damage indicator which is a white sticker on the corner, and there are rubber gaskets around the connectors. The SIM card and memory card reader is located on the back, the proximity sensor is located on top, and the dual front-facing LED flash is located next to it, and there's copper tape on the back shields as well as thermal paste. Once the copper tape is removed, we can see more thermal paste on top of the RAM, processor, and other chips. Here's a better look with the thermal paste removed. Now that both the motherboard and battery have been removed, we can see the copper heat pipe which runs underneath the battery as well as the motherboard. There are 3 more Phillips screws on the bottom that need to be removed. The bottom speaker assembly can now be lifted up and removed. Here's a better look at that. And here's the speaker itself. Now the flex cable on the subboard as well as the 2 other ends of the coaxial cable need to be disconnected. And then the subboard can be lifted up and removed. There are rubber gaskets around the charger port and headphone jack as well as the connector. The primary microphone is located in the center. And there's another liquid damage indicator sticker which is this white sticker. Here's a look at the other side. There are rubber gaskets and mesh filters on the microphone openings on the frame. And the flex cable for the volume keys and power button is located here and it's held down with some adhesive, as well as the earpiece speaker, which is located on top. For the repairability score, I give this phone a 7 out of 10. Now it's time to put the phone back together. Once everything's back in place, apply new adhesive and reapply the back plate. Flip over the phone, power it on, and you're done. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.